Hello and welcome to LocoFi'ed. As we all know, kids usually start into the hobby with a model train set. Most beginner train sets, they come with a locomotive, a few cars, few pieces of track, usually an oval, and a power pack to get started. Once it's all set up, there's nothing more exciting than seeing the train move on the oval when you turn the throttle. However, it fizzles out very soon because, after all, how much can you see the train going round and round in circles? Either the train set gets packed up until next Christmas, maybe for a few more seasons, or they eventually move to the next level where they add more track pieces to create something more than just the oval. Now, if they decide to get another locomotive, it gets very prohibitive because one power pack will move both the trains at the same time. So there's two options now. Number one, either do DC block separation and get more power packs. Number two, or use digital technology to wire it all up in a way to run multiple trains at the same time. Obviously, wiring for DC block separation is not for the kids or even the parents. It is certainly not plug and play. Similarly, wiring for most digital technologies isn't for beginners as well. Fortunately, there's LocoFi'ed digital technology that is wireless and you run trains off your smartphone. Kids are whiz when it comes to using smartphones. With the LocoFi module installed inside the trains, they can easily run multiple trains with sounds powered by a single power pack that came with their original train set. This not only inspires them to continue with the hobby, it takes the hobby to a whole new level never seen before. Then they can go about adding scenery and create stories while still keeping the layout pretty portable. You can set it up all anytime and not just Christmas, anywhere, create a new track configuration, put the trains on the track, and off you go. If it was their first train set, it will inspire them to continue expanding their train empire and not give up. You will not need to give up your collection of railroad equipment to expand your layout, and that is number one reason most folks give up on pursuing the hobby. They have to switch to a different technology, which is usually complicated, and in doing that requires reinvestment into new equipment. There's none of that with LocoFi. You can even run LocoFi equipped locomotives on other technology based layouts. So the last bit that remains is installing the LocoFi module into the locomotive. The bad news is that kids cannot do it, but the good news is that most parents with average soldering skills can. The LocoFi module kit, it comes with all the necessary accessories. All you need is a soldering iron. Here we will attempt to show one such install in one of the more popular beginner train sets. It's a Bachmann Santa Fe Flyer that comes with EMD FT locomotive. The module will go inside it, and we will show the install with our first gen module, also known as DDLLHA, but the wiring and mounting is similar, rather easier with our smaller modules. So here we go. Okay, so here we have the EMD FT locomotive, and here is the module that we're going to install. It's a LocoFi first gen DDLLHA. So it comes in this package. It's the module itself, this thing, and it comes with this kit which contains all the small accessories like the LEDs, like the spare wires, heat shrink tubes, etc. Now to open this locomotive, if you look below, you will see there are 4 screws here that need to be taken out, and we have all these 4 screws here. Let's keep it aside safely, And to get the shell off, be gentle with it. The coupler will be in the way. So what you need to do is tilt the shell a little bit and slide it off carefully. So this is how it looks. There is a motor. Doesn't look like there is a flywheel. So uh, the power, if you can see, the power is picked up from the wheels, and there is those metal wipers which are rubbing against the wheels. They pick up the power and power the motor here. And there is also a bulb and few electronic components like capacitors, inductors in series with it, and that's what basically drives the locomotive. So when we install the LocoFi'ed module, we will be wiring it according to the install guides that we have provided, and the wiring diagram is provided there. We have other videos on the installation as well, but we are going to show the wiring here as well. So let's get started with that. So we can see these two are power wires coming from the track, and similarly the red and black from the front. So it's a good idea to take the inductor and capacitors out with the LocoFi'ed module, and to do that we will have to get the motor out, and to do that we will have to unscrew these and push the motor up. Let's try doing that. It's kind of a snug fit here. Keep it aside, so this is the direction it goes in. Keep the screws tacked here, and the motor is out. So we are cutting off all these components because they are not needed at all. Be careful not to cut the motor clip here. Okay, so now we are gonna solder the orange wire to the bottom terminal and the gray wire to the top terminal. Let's just cut this off right here. And cut this off right here. Get that out of the way. Since this is a bulb and not an LED, we'll have to get an LED which we can get from this packet and install that over here. Get the bulb out, keep it aside. Okay, so we are left with only the power wires, and we will combine these together. So we are going to join the red with the red, and this is the left rail. That we have this wired up. Let's get the module. We got the LEDs, so we're gonna use, so we provide by default two 3 mm LEDs and through 1.8 mm LEDs. So this is the 3 mm LED is about the same size as the bulb, so that should fit the bill here. We'll just get this out. And so the resistors are on board, the modules we don't need them externally. And here is the pre-tinned wires that we send out, and we're gonna solder these here. So we'll solder the orange here and the gray over here. So let's do that. Now we are ready to put the motor back in. Alright, here we go. Let's get the motor mounts. There you go, we got them in place. Put this thing on, it's a very nice snug fit here. Press on the motor here while putting the screws back. Right, now we have these two wires coming in. So since we have a relatively large module here, it should easily sit on top of the motor here, and we just need to be very careful to avoid the screw holes. Right, so the way we are gonna do is we're gonna route the speaker wire below the module, something like this. Attach the speaker here, and get the module seated like this, and then solder up the connections. Should be careful that none of the wires are coming into mechanical parts here, so just need to be careful with that. To avoid that, we will we'll just kind of tie up, or let's say tape up, the speaker wire below the module. Any electrical tape would do, but we are using this thin Captain tape here. And we place another piece over here. And now there should be no chance of it coming into any sort of mechanical problems. So I'm gonna just tape the speaker also here with like a double-sided tape. So I'm just gonna use a thin double-sided tape here for that purpose. And just put it at the back of the speaker here, and I am, just for the sake of safety, also gonna put a piece of Captain tape here. Get that in, and let's just put the module in place. and we'll bring these wires from under below here, and kind of keep it here so that we can see which ones we need to solder. We are not going to use the rear light unless you want to install one. You can obviously install one wherever it needs to be, probably here, but for now we are just not gonna use it because it doesn't come by default. I'm just gonna cut this end off and again use a piece of Captain tape here to kind of slide it below the module so that it's not in our way. So things are looking good for now. We'll just solder up these connections and tuck the wires again below the module. There is plenty of space from from here to the top, so even if the module is raised a little bit up, it's not gonna be a problem. We're just gonna cut off these wires and wire up the LED. It's the white and the blue wire. We don't really need excess wires. Similarly, we don't need this excess wire. And this. The red and black is probably okay because they kind of are coming towards the center. So now it's just a matter of soldering up the connections. So just to reiterate, so there were power wires, red and black, coming from the front truck and the rear truck, and we just cut them off from the motor because we want to drive the motor from the orange and the gray wires, and we removed the bulb and we got the right hand side, the track wire, from the front and the rear truck, the right hand side, the red wire, and kind of combined it together. And similarly we did the left end of the front and rear track power wires together, and we will be soldering it to the black wire of the module. The right, it's usually red, but even if it's a different color, just make sure the same side wires are coming together. Sometimes there is a red from the front coming and the black from the rear coming together, so yeah, just don't try to color match everything because this could be a red coming from the other side also, so that kind of can be confusing. So make sure wires of each side are together, and so we're just gonna solder this together and solder this together and solder this to the LED and the orange to the orange and gray to the gray. Now the orange and gray are coming from the motor. If you recall, we just removed all those extra components that were there and soldered orange and gray wires to the respective terminals. Now to wire up the LED, we got this longer lead here, which is the positive, and white connects to that. The shorter lead, blue, connects to that. So now let's get some heat shrink tubes from the packet. We got a thicker and a thinner. So thicker, what we can do is to kind of go over the LED so that the light does not bleed into the windows here and into the cab. So we're gonna put this heat shrink tube all the way till here and somewhere around here, so that we also cover up the connection and not short out anything. So this is how it looks. Let me give a bit close up. Okay. So I'm gonna cut some pieces. We'll be needing 2 for the power and 2 for the motor. So I'm just gonna cut off both. Before we wire these together, I'm just gonna slide them onto one side of the wires. Right, we have the red. Now let's do the black. Now let's solder up the gray. Okay, it's solid. Let's get the final connection going. Okay, we have all the connections in place. So before I close up the shell and wire, collect all the wires together, I would like to do like a dry run, like a small test to make sure it's all working. So, or you can at least bundle up the wires and then we can go about doing the test before, of course, we close up the shell. So finally, I would cover this whole area with some black electrical tape so that we don't see any colors over here. So let's just do that. So I put the black tape around the places where there was a chance of like the color showing up through the windows. So now we're gonna change the sounds to generic diesel 2, and so for that we're just gonna pop the micro SD out and carefully take it out. And so now that we have it out, we just insert it into the computer and copy the files inside the generic diesel02.zip file that you must have downloaded. We downloaded from the website. We unzip it and we just copy the file just like we copy pictures or any other data. In case your computer does not have a micro SD slot, instead has a regular SD card slot, then you just put this thing in here and then insert the adapter in the computer and you're good to go. So for now we'll just copy the file, and So after copying the files, we have the micro SD back, and we'll insert it back carefully, making sure it's seated properly before we lock the hinge in place on top of it. Looks perfectly seated now. Close the latch, it's locked in place, and now we can test it out, and after we have tested it, it looks okay, then we will just close the shell. So we tested it out and everything looks okay. The unit runs great, and that's how we have a successful install. Let's put the shell back on and run it on the track. So that completes the installation. Thank you. So that was the install process. We hope it was not very intimidating. If it is something you would like us to pre-install for you, please let us know by contacting us via our website, by using any of the options mentioned at wifi-model-railroad.com/contact. You can see the link right here. We'll try to procure the train set for you that you desire and provide you a quote for it with the LocoFi'ed module pre-installed in it. We even sometimes carry some of these train sets pre-installed with LocoFi'ed module to the train shows that we set up our booth at. So if you happen to be around in the area, please stop by and check out what we have at hand available at that time. So we hope you enjoyed the content. Happy model railroading. Thank you and a happy new year. Bye.